Welcome back to the Eric Krown crypto channel. Wishing you a happy and healthy start to this nice Tuesday morning over here from a bright and sunny Helsinki, Finland. A lot to be speaking about today, however, as there is a major high-term time frame closing today, which is potentially going to be driving some very strong biases coming into probably middle, maybe even end of September. With all of that said, I should also let you know that I've been relentlessly pumping out my Instagram recently with both crypto content and trading content, and also some unrelated stuff as well. So if you may be interested in such things, check out the link in the description below. Of course, it is 100% free, and let's just jump right into it right here. So this is a chart that we haven't visited basically since the last major drop from above 40,000 bucks to 30,000 bucks. And this is the 5-day BBWP versus stochastic momentum chart. We've looked at several of these different time frames, several of these different charts over the past couple months here, and they all typically have confluence with each other actually. But I wanted to bring this one up because it is one, closing today, and two, potentially going to be printing a pretty big signal right there as I channel my inner Larry David, fucking great guy. And what essentially are we looking at? Well, first things first, we're looking at extreme lows on the 5-day BBWP indicator, which are defined as basically anything below about 15 percentile. You can see right now we are just getting below that threshold, and the 5 days actually be closing tonight. So we're going to get another tick on this one in just 16 hours, 54 minutes, and 33 seconds. To give you an insight as to what it looked the last time, of which we were very vocal about it on this channel, the last signal was right in over here, where BBWP was expanding off the lows, and we saw a nice 40.34% move to the downside alongside the 5-day stochastic momentum oscillator pointed in that same direction. What's interesting about this particular interplay, however, is that the stochastic momentum oscillator has been just about perfect in getting the direction once volatility expansion does happen over the past 4 years, going back to 2018. Of course, we could backtest it more than that, but I figured this is the most relevant towards our current trajectory. And the reason why I'm calling it out right now is because, one, the 5-day is about to close, and two, if the 5-day does close today, very specifically below $21,000, we will see this naturally turn down. And that would massively put the probabilities on a big downside move coming into the end of this month and likely spilling on over into September as well in the midst. So looking at the stats from the past, I believe there was 11 iterations in the past 3 years. The average move was about 45.13%. The average days taken was just under 37 days. So basically that's what I'm kind of saying, the end of September essentially is where we start to see likely the end of this move. The lowest move that we've seen borne upon this same signal was about 28.90%, and the highest was 76.57. So you can see that there is a bit of variance right there, but certainly when we do go into the data, most of these, the overwhelming majority are between about 35 to 40, like little over 40 essentially. So what does that essentially imply? Well, if Bitcoin does close today below that threshold, $21,000, again, the probabilities increase with major downside continuations to new lows coming into September. Keep in mind, however, we do not have volatility expansion just yet. So that would be the confirming signal for this. By the way, all of the other charts that we looked at yesterday and basically the past couple weeks, they're still pointed down, by the way, as long as Bitcoin's below 24,000 bucks essentially. But in this case, if Bitcoin were to close above $21,000, it doesn't mean that the boo laws are safe. It just means that they're safe for now, and then we watch it again for the next 5 days and see if we get some volatility expansion. If we get volatility expansion while that's actually above the threshold, then, well, the probabilities would be on an upside resolution with a big move up in September. But let's play around with the numbers here and come up with, the range of what would essentially be expected if this happens to the upside or the downside. So let's say it expanded, basically exactly from here, which is probably unlikely actually, unless we get like a big day today. Well, taking off about what was it, like 45%? Yeah, about 45% to the downside. If I can actually make this make more sense, there we go. I think that'll just be easier to view. 45% to the downside would put Bitcoin at about 14,000 bucks. That is, generally close enough to what would be my major downside target, which is $15,500. If you're interested in the reasons why, check out this Sunday video. It's still very much relevant. It's very long-term price action analysis if you happen to give a fuck. And then, of course, if it happens to the upside, well, what would we be looking at right here? We would be looking at a likely move somewhere around about 30,000 bucks. 45% puts you, just above just below 31,000 bucks. So that's kind of what's at stake here. And I do suspect that we're going to see basically a move to, generally close to one of those two regions by the end of September. That's kind of what I'm looking at. Now, taking this one step further and getting another view on this, I wanted to go look at the stats specifically for September. Now, I've spoken about this before. Don't want to bore you with the details, but basically what I did is I measured all of the Septembers in Bitcoin's past and did a statistical analysis of them and found that September, funnily enough, is one of the worst months for Bitcoin and by extension cryptocurrencies and also traditional markets as well. Everyone typically talks about October, and yes, October isn't the best month, but if you are going off of percentage downs, September is actually worse for traditional markets in comparison to October, statistically speaking. Anyways, in this case, found that of all 13 Septembers, 9 of them were like big downs. So that's 69%, great number right there. If we just include like a down, and also a range, so not closing green essentially, like to any specific measure, like just closing within the range for the month, then it's 11 out of 13, which is 85%. So basically it's no movement for 2 of them. Then the other 9 are just straight fucking down. And then the average downside move was about 26.24%. So obviously we can't really apply a downside move based off the average here just yet because, well, we don't have the monthly closure, so it's going to be massively dependent upon that. But let's say Bitcoin were to close below like 21,000 bucks, and we start to see Bitcoin maybe close the month around about I don't know, like 20 or 19, whatever it might be. Well, if you take off about 26% off price action, that puts you at about $14,500. So again, kind of coming up from another angle right there, but heavily dependent upon where we close this month, which we will know in just over a week, just 8 days from now. So, 7, 8, whatever the fuck. There's 8 days, I think, left. Anyways, so that would, again, increase the probabilities, at least for right now, if we're going off of history, probably downside resolution. Again, I would want to see this one confirmed over here. This is the one that I favor the most. Time analysis, as far as like what month it is less important to me, although there is pretty fucking good history. And by the way, I should add that the only 2 months that were up in September were the first 2 months of Bitcoin's existence. So way the fuck back on over here, which I thought was also quite interesting as well. Anyways, this is all relevant for the higher term timeframes. This is not relevant for the short term timeframes. If we go into the short term timeframes over here, it's very, very interesting right now, or at least it's very interesting to me because, well, you see a lot of people, or at least I see a lot of people, and this is always, a difficult thing to relay, or rely on, more importantly, get bearish on Bitcoin right now. They're like, Bitcoin's weak. It didn't even retest $22,500. It doesn't fucking need to do any of that bullshit, by the way. Like, this is silliness, at least in my humble opinion. Okay, just leave it right there. Be a little more diplomatic about it. But in this case, we do see some things now that, at least if I were looking at this, the probability of a short-term time frame bounce, like it would be for today, tomorrow, basically, if it is going to happen. I don't know why people were looking over on like the last few days, kind of wasn't really getting indications. It was a setup, but not necessarily coming to fruition. So what do we see right here? Well, first things first, we see extremely low 4-hour BBWP. In fact, it's literally below 2 percentile right now. So we're looking at a move today, tomorrow, quite likely. Moving average is massively overhead, so that kind of makes me think either it's later today around US Open, probably more likely tomorrow if it's going to happen at all. And then what we also do see is potential bullish divergence forming on the 4-hour RSI. We see significantly higher low, or I wouldn't say significantly, but higher lows on the 4-hour RSI with lower lows on price action as Bitcoin kind of gets walked down right here. Even the 4-hour Joule has a bit of a, I wouldn't say the strong one just yet. It probably swings back around for a good signal if it's going to work out, something like this, which would obviously imply a little bit more time taken. If you're going to see something like that, that would be a good for a short-term upside move. And then, of course, we also, yesterday, we did say a move down to about 20,800 was likely, or, somewhere reasonably close to that based off the 618, because it was first one more short-term move to the downside, and then if Bitcoin's going to bounce, it probably happens over the next 48 hours. And obviously that move was hit, or I shouldn't say obviously, I don't want to sound conceited in this case, but that move was hit. And that's a 618 Fibonacci retracement right there. So, is this a good place for Bitcoin to be bouncing? Well, let's go check out stochastic momentum. 6-hour time frame. It's coming off extremes right here, by the way, and showing about $21,000 for it to turn up. Again, in some pretty critical regions right here, comparable to what we have seen many other times in the past few months here, going back to April, all of these times in that region correlate to these red circles. You know, they weren't like reversals, obviously, on any meaningful time frame, but they were nice moves to the upside nonetheless. So I do look at that as somewhat relevant. Again, kind of just playing off a bit of a reversion move after a major move to the downside. Like, it's not like, don't get me wrong, it's not fucking bullish, but you know, if you're going to be looking for a bounce, I think over these next couple of days would probably be it. Again, assuming that Bitcoin just doesn't close the 5-day below 21,000 bucks today, that would probably be pretty damn bad. 4-hour also pivoted around the same region. 21,066 going to be the magical number right here. Again, in a very, very low place as well. It's just difficult to keep momentum up to the downside like that. 3-hour is also going to be pivoted up as long as Bitcoin is above 20,900 essentially. Bi-hourly is also going to be pivoted up as long as Bitcoin is above 20,950. So again, you know, these sort of pivot points come up, you know, a significant amount of times. So if I'm going to be looking for a bounce, you know, first things first, I want to see Bitcoin kind of hold here without breaking 20,800 over the next couple of days, or at least today. And then if you do see Bitcoin pop back above even the short-term time frame range highs, which is basically about 21,500 or so on a closing basis, then I would be looking for a short-term upside move, probably somewhere around $22,000, maybe even as much as 22 for something like that. Again, long-term, you know, it doesn't really change anything for me on Bitcoin until we start to see resolution on these major signals over here. And then again, September, you know, not the best history. So a bit of a bifurcation in the analysis between the higher-term timeframes and the lower-term timeframes, but understand where those sort of points of confirmation get confirmed, I guess. Confirmed. And other than that, I think that's a good place for me to leave off on this video. So going back on over here, I did want to quickly let you know about Bybit options. I've been uploading an options one-on-one playlist. I even put in one of the videos from the options program there, if you happen to care about options on the call spread, which you can find on this channel, of course. And they are offering 50% off of their trading fees if you use the link in the description below. And then also these babies over here. I'm actually heavily considering doing copy trading. So I'll do it through this link over here. If I do it, it'll probably start maybe later this week or early next week, because I have a few other things to attend to first before fulfilling that. But yeah, figure why not? Why not? Perhaps I'll have to think about it maybe a little bit more, try to figure out, the cost benefit of it. But yeah, that'll be it for me today. Wishing you well as always. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully soon.